Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber. As you can see, Dwaylen is not with us this week. Unfortunately, he is under the weather along with some of his family. So definitely send some good thoughts and prayers his way so they all get better. But joining me is a return guest. That is Mr. Noah Gabriel, born to wrestle, as you can see on my shirt, those of you on YouTube. And Noah is here, to kind of catch us up where what he's been doing, and also to tell us about what an upcoming event, uh, the most want to be event the most want to be their event. There we go. The most cannot miss event.
The event is so exciting. Steve
Yes,
is stumbling over his
I
words.
am. I mean, and it is the event that is represented by the shirt I bought at last year's event that is sitting right behind me, the Summer Sizzler down in Covington, Kentucky, at the Hits Baseball Complex on the 20th of August. Dude, I'm looking over this match card. That is going to be just a great event.
Absolutely. And I'm very, very excited for it. Like you said, it's the biggest event of the NWF's calendar year, one of the biggest events. And it's always a stacked card. It's always a good time. The NWF Army comes out in droves. Like you said, you were there last year. Hits is, if not at capacity, it's pretty darn close. And it's an all day event, and it's something, man. It's going to be a good time, and I'm very, very excited for it.
Yeah, because I think I saw the doors are open at what, 3:45, 3:30.
So if you're a VIP ticket holder, you get in earlier than everybody else. You get in at 3:30, and you get treated to 2 bonus matches that nobody else is going to see. And then at 4:00, general admission doors open, and then from 4 to 6, all kinds of games and activities happen. I've heard rumors of what they are, but I don't want to say what they are right now because I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. However, there is a Legends meet and greet panel where NWF Hall of Famers and legends from the past are going to come by, say hi, autographs, take pictures, etc. We just named a couple the other day. Former NWF Heavyweight Champion Angel is going to be there. Hall of Famer and former CEO Mr. Hayes is going to be there. Hall of Famer and hardcore icon Psycho Sam Cody is going to be there. And I'm getting another lineup here soon of more names to announce. And it's going to be a really, really cool experience. So, you can get your tickets at nwfwrestling.com. Or if you want to, you can get your general admission only tickets over at Discondat in Florence, Kentucky off Turfway Road. But nevertheless, bell time's at 6, and I mean, you've been to NWF events,
Yeah.
It starts at 6, no more than or less, action packed 2.5 hours, and it's gonna. If you've never attended an NWF event or an indie wrestling event in general, I highly recommend you come to this one on August 20th at Hits at 3785 Lake Park Drive in Covington, Kentucky.
And I can tell you, just if it's anything like last year I watched my very first cage match in person.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that was Big Mama and Nikki Victory.
Right.
They had their cage match. But the fan fest right before that, before all the matches were going on, I mean, the fans could go by, they could talk to the wrestlers. And I want to say at one point they were having the fans cut promos on, I want to say they were cutting promos on Swayze.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, they were, allowed to come up there and do promos like that. And I remember all the games are out there. I mean, the fans go win prizes. Then there was merch tables. There was more merch tables than normal.
Right.
And in fact, my son and his friend, they split. They bought a New Day. So it looked like the box of Bootios, but it was the actual New Day characters. And his friend already had one of the characters, and so my son took they somehow split them up because his friend already had one or two of them, and so he didn't need the last one, or he didn't need those two. And yeah, so but there's more merch than normal. I mean, it's just a great time.
It's a great
And
gap.
yeah, and it's not very often you actually get to really hang out and talk with the wrestlers.
Right.
I mean, I'm fortunate, doing a podcast. I've talked to quite a few of the Northern Wrestling Federation wrestlers, and it's been such a treat for me. For a fan who doesn't have a podcast, this might be one of the few chances they get to actually, oh, how are you, and
Right.
talk to them. I mean, and I think, like you said, they're having a panel of the Hall of Famers. Well, I'd
Right.
not even caught that part of it. That's going to be amazing.
Right. And like I said, there's more names still to be announced. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say at this time, but make sure you catch us like us on Facebook and or the Wrestling Federation, because I'm sure they'll be announced the next day or two.
Yeah, because
But
I don't want to see the next picture of you being like the handprint of Roger across your face.
right. Oh, I get those all the time. Just yeah, but yeah, and but another thing you probably also got to realize is not just the good guys you can interact with; it's the bad guys too. Like you mentioned
Yeah.
with the promo things with Swayze. So like this is your opportunity to up close and personal tell your favorite bad guy they absolutely suck,
Yeah.
and it's so great. So you can go up to Mr. Destiny and tell him how unattractive he is, or you can go up to Sinclair and tell him how it's not real money if it's crypto, dog. So like you can do all that, like or you can go up to Mad Dog David Tyler and tell him how he has fleas. It's all a great time.
And definitely go to it. If you can make it, make it. If you can't make it, try to make it anyway. I don't care. Go to it. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic time. And I want to run over some of these matches. I mean, and for those who may not even be familiar with NWF, because I'm discovering we're actually picking up new listeners, who aren't necessarily from Cincinnati, or some who are from the Cincinnati area and they've never been to an event. I can tell you, I'm looking over this list of names, and I've seen every single one of these wrestle, and I can tell you they're all good. Every single one of them. But I want to go through some of these matches, and one of the ones we decided, because I wanted to make sure I had them all listed. Christopher Lotus, Riley Matthews against James Cross, formerly known as Jimbo. Some people may still know him as Jimbo.
Right.
And Savannah Sweet.
Right.
And Christopher Lotus, I mean, he's a veteran from way back.
Right. 20 plus years. I think this is year 21 for him. It's year 20 or 21 for him.
Yep. And Riley Matthews, she's been at it for about a year. Well, actually a little over a year. Right. I saw her very first match in the Jake Sweeney parking lot. Right. Back her and Breezy.
Right.
And she has just done so many just amazing things over the past year. All the different places she's wrestled, going up to Canada, going up to Texas to work for Thunder Rosa. She's been to North Carolina and wrestled. I mean, she's done a lot. And she won the PGWA Rookie of the Year.
Right. Oh, I almost forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I was there when they awarded that to her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and when she broke down, I mean, you knew that was genuine. She had no idea that was coming.
No, she didn't. I was in. So a little quick story about that. I was in the quote unquote gorilla position when her match was happening, and I don't remember who had I think it was Callie or Cindy had the piece of paper, and they were clearing all the, because a lot of the roster was there at the all girls show, just out of support. And they were trying to clear a path, and I was like, "Why clear a path?" Because like, well, we're going to do this thing, but Riley doesn't know. I was like, "Well, what is it?" And then they told me. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." So seeing her, freak out, it was a cool moment.
It was very genuine. I mean, you could tell she had. I mean, granted, she should have known because she is that good.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, she's also very humble. Because she puts the work in, you can tell. But they're going against James Cross and Savannah Sweet.
Right.
And Savannah Sweet, who is, I've only seen her wrestle a few times because I know she's really, really new, but she's also she's catching on quick.
Yeah, I've seen her training at Bone Crushers, and I mean this. If she hears this, she's never gonna let it down. But given that Ella walks out with the title at Sizzler, which we'll get to later, I'm sure. I think Savannah might have Ella's number. I really do.
I'll tell you what. I mean that would end up being a scrap, no doubt about it. I mean, because
And they've wrestled a handful of times, like at like Mount Orab and I think Ludlow a couple times. But I mean, it's just one of those experience just caught up with her, and one of those things. But man, I'm telling you, I think it's one of those things to where all Savannah needs is just one opportunity, and it's a matter of when, not if. I'm not saying that the other newer girl like Riley or Jack Stinger ain't in contention, because they are, but I don't know, man. There's just something about Savannah Sweet right now that within a year's time, she's gonna be something to watch out for.
I mean, she just kind of oozes toughness. I don't know what it is. I mean, but you just look at her and think, okay,
Whoa,
I don't want to mess with
okay,
it.
I don't know about toughness. We don't want to inflate her ego too much now. Come on
Okay,
now.
I'll have to slow down. But speaking of egos, apparently somebody had a little bit of an ego that they decided they were going to take upon themselves to shave another man's mustache off of him.
Right.
Mr. Destiny shaved off Swinger's, and that mustache, I'm telling you, that mustache was epic. It makes me mad to think that Mr. Destiny, you don't shave a man's mustache. I mean, that's
Well, yeah, you just don't do that. I can't even grow facial hair, and I was mad for him.
Don't worry, I got enough for both of us right now.
Okay, I appreciate that. But it was in Fairfield, and because I think if memory serves me right, that match was right after mine, so I didn't see it when it all happened. So when Swinger came back, and I was like, dude, where's your mustache? And then he told me, I was like, wait, are you serious? Like, you're just gonna take that? And then he had that grin on his face. You know, that grin went right before he kicks the guy in the butt.
Yeah,
It was that grin. And I was like, you have an idea, don't you? And he's like, oh yes. And then he went up to Commissioner Cat, and he went up to Raj, and he was like, listen, I want this kid, and I want his blood on Sizzler. So here we have a respect match, because these two have been going on and off for a year now, and one's got to give, man. Destiny's saying that Swinger doesn't respect him, and vice versa. Well, how a respect match works, I believe the rules were just posted on our socials today. No countouts, no submissions, no pinfalls, no anything goes. Only way to win is to have your opponent say in a microphone, I respect you. So imagine beating somebody up so mercilessly that they utter those words. I think we're about to see a different side of Swinger and a Mr. Destiny we've never seen before. And that one's really going to be interesting to watch. And it could possibly be the show stealer.
I can see that, actually, because those guys are very evenly matched, with their styles. And, and of course, Mr. Destiny, I do have to roll my eyes every time I start hearing
Careless Whisper.
Careless Whisper. I'm like, you could have at least played the Seether version. But I mean, you know what? If he's out there looking in the mirror and
right.
I'm like, okay, if he thinks he's got it, he thinks he's got it, but he should still, you don't shave a man's mustache. And so this could honestly go either way.
Right.
Because now, I mean, he may feel the wrath of Swinger,
Right.
So we'll have to see, who's going to make the other man say, I respect, because that's a hard on the ego too. So
it is.
Yeah.
Especially with both men have egos, Swinger respectfully, but
yeah.
But it's definitely going to be an interesting one, to say the least.
Well, I mean, Swinger, he's announced as your girlfriend's favorite wrestler. I mean,
right.
So that's definitely an ego, but I mean, he can back it up. And I know Destiny, he can back it up as well. So
right.
That'll be a good match. And here's a match type I've never actually seen in person: a dog collar match.
Mm-hmm.
Beck Reeves and David Tyler.
listen, Beck. I like Beck. Beck and I have teamed a handful of times. Beck is has the world going for him, but man, I think he's bit off more than he can chew with, and no pun intended, with this whole David Tyler dog collar thing. And the guy's name is the Mad Dog,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in a dog collar match. That's like wrestling example. That's like wrestling Kane in an Inferno match, or that's like wrestling The Undertaker in a casket match.
You know what? I'll pass on all those.
Exactly.
Nope.
Like there's just some wrestlers with some matches you don't do. And David Tyler in a dog collar match is one you don't do. But Beck, God bless him, like he thinks he can pull it off. And you know what? I am full support of him 100%, but if the slightest chance Beck can pull this off, man, we're not getting the same Beck Reeves coming out of that match as he is going in. Because I've been in the ring with David Tyler a handful of times, and that man is going to pummel Beck Reeves into the ground. And when you put a steel chain in his hand, it's and I hate giving David so much credit because he smells awful and he has fleas, but it's just one of those things to where when I heard that match be announced, I almost called the nearest funeral home and told him, "Hey, you're gonna have a dead body on August 20th." But then I realized it was against my boy Beck Reeves. I was like, you know what? If there's anybody who can come out of this at least alive, it'll be Reeves.
And if anybody wants to know what kind of damage you can inflict on somebody in a dog collar match, just go look up Starcade '83, Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Recently, just throwing. I had it on in the background. It's not a dog collar match per se, but it was a bull rope match, and you want to talk about JBL and Eddie.
Mm.
You know, it's a similar type. It's not necessarily a chain, but it's a bull rope.
Yeah,
and you're that's another thing too. It's a dog collar match.
you're not getting away.
They're not getting away, but they're not
Yeah.
also attached by hand. They're attached by neck too.
Yep.
So that's like, and the throat is such a sensitive area. I don't think the average individual knows how sensitive the throat and the neck is, and it's Reeves is fighting an uphill battle, but I believe in him, and I'll leave it at that.
Now the next match that I have listed is not necessarily a gimmick match,
Right?
but it could be. It's for the women's title. Ella defending her title against Big Mama, and Ella, her throat. You know, you're talking about throats.
Yeah.
Her throat was hurt. I believe I was there for that one. Was it in Mount Orb a couple months ago?
She got attacked in Covington, and that's when they.
That's where. Okay, that's where it was. It was in Covington.
Yeah.
I knew I was there. I know I saw it, and so Ella's throat is hurt, and everybody knows Ella. I mean, she has that scream.
Right.
And if you've never been like in the same room, especially like in Ludlow when she does it, because the sound can't go anywhere in Ludlow.
No.
So she hits that scream. Just be ready for it because it's pretty powerful. But now she can't do that. And I mean, I think she can hold her own without it, but it's a psychological thing. And Big Mama's not one to back down at all, and she's going to take full advantage.
Right. And also, like, I mean, if you watch Ella's matches back, like, that's almost like her secret weapon. Like once you hear that scream, it's DDT 1, 2, 3. Like it's
over.
Like I've never seen her hit her DDT and not hear the scream. At least in recent memory. I'm sure if I really dig, I might. But it's always scream, DDT, or straight jacket submission, 1, 2, 3, or tap out. But it now with that scream compromised, I don't know. And also we've seen before, like Big Mama was scared of that scream. Like she like she would hear it, and you know, I think Big Mama found the kryptonite, and I think we might be seeing a new women's. I hate because before I was saying good things about David when I didn't want to, and then Big Mama. It's like I hate the odds of all my friends, and it sucks. But again, Ella's been champ. She's beat Nevaeh. She's beat Selena Dean. She's beat Big Mama before, Breezy, Savannah Sweet. Like the list of her opponents goes on and on and on and on. So, you know, she has a better chance of retaining her title than I'm sure the average person might think on paper, given the situation. But it's, again, it goes back to the uphill battle. But I think Ella. You know what? Ella's good. I think Ella is gonna retain. I really do.
It's gonna be the fight of her life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, but I think I agree with you. I think she can retain too, and then she'll just have to wait for the next challenger, whoever that may be, whether it be like a Riley, whether it be a Savannah Sweet, like you were mentioning before.
Right.
It could be a Breezy. It could be a Jax.
Right.
You know, so it could be Selena Dean. You never know.
Right.
I mean,
Or
the women,
it could be some outside woman that we bring in, and big surprise. Who knows?
yeah. I mean, the women's roster right now in the NWF is just absolutely stacked.
Oh, it's untouchable. Like if you were to go and like just in the sense, like no other promotion, and now I'm going to go off on this tangent. No other wrestling, Cincy wrestling promotion can barely touch the women's division that we have. Sure, they might have one or two okay female wrestlers, but a whole division of them, like, nah, that the NWF is so fortunate, and it goes to the testament of those who have worked so hard behind the scenes to get said division done, because I think that's one of those things that separates us, aside from being one of the most successful promotions for over 25 years, is the fact that we have not only good female wrestlers, but we also have a good female wrestler division with a strong champion.
And is there video anywhere we can watch, you know, talking about women's wrestling, and it's kind of somewhat off topic, the video, any kind of recording of the match between Nikki Victory and Kylie Ray from Revolution Rising, because you want to talk about a match that just had everybody on their feet. Yeah. I mean, that's NWF wrestling right there.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that was.
I know there is a DVD of it. I'll let you know who to hook up to get that though.
Okay, yeah, because that was just a phenomenal match. And yeah, and speaking of Nikki Victory, and speaking of women's wrestling, she's going to be involved, sort of, you know, as a bystander, but in a match that you're going to be involved in at Summer Sizzler, with you and Prodigy, Kobe Kane, going against the champions, Andrew Reed and Joshua. And Nikki Victory, she unfortunately lost a match where the stipulations of the match is she lost. She was going to be Joshua's servant for 120 days. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or was it 180?
I think it was 90.
Was it 90?
90.
Okay, that sounds about right. And I hate seeing Nikki Victory like that, because I mean, I know she is a just phenomenal person, and you see how just a great wrestler she is. But to see her have to, you know, have servitude thrown on her.
That, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just horrible to watch. Um, but that's the end of it is that day, correct? I mean,
It's coming up.
it's
It's
coming
coming
up.
up.
So if it's not that day, it's going to be real close.
Right, right.
And Andrew Reed and Joshua, they've actually been champions now. They've been for a little bit.
New Year's. I think they won them on New Year's.
Okay,
So
yeah.
January.
So yeah, so there you go. I mean, they've been champions now for a little over 8 months, or right about 8 months.
Yeah.
And so uh obviously I'm pulling for you and Prodigy,
I appreciate
just because.
I
Um
appreciate it.
even though I do know that Andrew Reed and Joshua, they're a good team. They've earned the
Yeah.
belts, but everybody's kind of sensing there may be a little bit of tension between the two of them, and it's because of the
Yeah.
whole situation.
Yeah. So I was there in July. I mean, obviously I was there. I was in the match. Hello.
Mm.
But when the last Covington event before the match was made, and first off, if you're listening to this, don't lay your hands on a woman. Never ever do that. But because Josh pushed Nikki to the floor after Nikki was trying to bring awareness to the referee that Josh put his feet on the ropes. I mean, I was the one that got pinned, and I was even telling the ref that, but he wasn't having it. Pushes Nikki, and when that happened, like Eddie, Andrew Reed got in like Joshua's face and was like screaming at him and telling him, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And it was really kind of like, wait a minute. I thought you were on board with this whole servant thing. Like, I get it, like, tell your boy to calm down because sometimes enough is enough, but there was something in his eyes where he wasn't 100% on board with this whole servant thing. So it was it was pretty interesting. I mean, they've proved, I guess they're kind of on the same page again because they successfully retained against TNT and Mount Orab. They retained against Juice and Joe Pro at the pool show we had in Delhi last Friday. So, but again, man, it's just one of those things where you play that moment over and over in your head, and you're shocked at a bunch of things. First, Joshua pushing Nikki to the floor, then Andrew Reed pushing Josh into a buckle. And then you're seeing all their interviews on Bust and Loose where Andrew's telling Josh to calm down and focus on the bigger picture, and that is the tag team titles. I mean, I hate to, give up my strategy, but it's if me and Kobe can, take advantage of those potential cracks in the armor, because that's the thing. Prod and I have wrestled these guys. I think this is going to be our third time actually wrestling them, which is kind of wild to think about because, you know, we're in this high profile title match and we haven't wrestled all that often. Like it feels like a big buildup, which, I feel honored to even be a part of a big match like this. And, and I'm really hoping that, I'm hoping for the best. Obviously, I hope I walk out tag team champion. And almost forget to mention that there's going to be 2 referees assigned to this match.
Yep, I was going to mention that.
Yeah. So no shenanigans are going to be pulled out because you got 2 pairs of eyes on this. Yeah, it's really, really, really going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be one to watch out for.
And you probably, I don't know if you know who the referees are going to be yet or not, because I mean y'all have like quite a few, but I'm just wondering if Beans is going to be one of the referees, because
I was gonna say, with all due respect, I kind of hope it's not Beans, because history has showed when Beans is involved in a match, things happen, and
but
and the next
Beans just
and then,
wrestled. He just wrestled his first match.
yeah,
too,
he
though,
did, and he did some moves that looked really familiar.
Oh, bean.
Like
Everybody loves beans.
everybody loves beans. I I I mean, that hey man, that's Jesse's thing. Like Jesse just needs to get his boy sometimes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. um. So either before or after this match, we don't know the order yet. But there's also going to be a tag team turmoil match
Yeah.
for the number one contenders for the tag titles.
Right.
Teams Joe Pro and Juice,
Mm-hmm.
Sean Evans and Titan,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hayden and Chris Demise, and then the Natty Boys, who are Roger's favorite tag team, the Natty Boys.
Oh, hey man, they're not just Roger Ruffins' favorite tag team. They're my favorite tag team too, man.
Oh, dude, they get a crowd going. I'll tell you what.
I love the Natties, but yeah, this is kind of interesting because it's number one contenders for the tag titles. The winners do, and so this is the one that I'm actually been thinking about more than my actual tag team title match because I've wrestled Joshua and Andrew Reed before. And by I mean me and Prodigy. And, I talked about, the cracks in the armor. And, I personally feel confident going into this because of all the issues that I mentioned before. So, but, you can call it fantasy, you can call it, what ifs. But it's one of those things to where, what if we do walk out with the tag titles?
Right. Who would
Who
you
do we
want? Yeah. Who would you want to
Yeah.
face out of this? I mean,
Yeah, like who's gonna be standing on the opposite side of the ring from the turmoil? And I've given it some thought, and there's some teams in there it would be an honor to share the ring with, i.e. the Natty Boys.
right.
On the other hand, there's a couple teams in mind that either me personally have history with, or me and Prodigy have history with. Negative history, I might add.
Right.
Um, So it's really, really going to be an interesting situation. Now, and I'm sure Joshua and Andrew Reed are thinking the same thing because, again, we don't know like if the turmoil is going first and then the tag titles or vice versa. So the whole tag division is kind of walking on eggshells and kind of on the edge of their seat. Like we don't know how the tag division is going to look after Sizzler, and that's something that I think is pretty exciting if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I'm being brutally honest, and this is one of those things that's going to give me a Raj smack across the face, I feel like the tag division, unfortunately, has felt a little stale earlier this year, you know. But then, as spring turned into summer, you started seeing Juice and Joe Pro show up, and they get on the same page, and then Joe Pro doing whatever the hell Joe Pro does. I can't
Yeah.
not
The
put him.
psycho, like,
I don't.
yeah.
No, it's not just that. It's just you see his matches, then at some point he's just a demon like enters
Yeah.
his body, and then you have Juice who's always on level 12, and you always have the Nativos who are great, but then you also have Sean Evans and Titan who just recently you know formed this alliance, and you want to talk about a worst case scenario for whoever the tag team champions are. That's the team who's the worst case scenario
Mm.
because I've been in the ring with Sean Evans and Titan in singles and in tags. The day after, I have not felt more sore, more beaten up, more bruised, regardless if it's a win, lose, or draw. Hell, Titan put me on the injured shelf for a couple weeks. You know, sure, Alex Hayden and Demise, they're bruisers in their own right. But I feel like I don't want to say MCE's behind me because they're not, because they could be in front of me for the tag titles. You never know. But if you were to tell a fan, hey, who's the more dangerous tag team? I'm sure they will tell you it's Evans and Titan.
If
And
I
again,
had, yeah, if I had to pick out of those 4 teams who the most dangerous, it probably would be Evans and Titan, no doubt.
and again, it's one of those worst case scenario things where it could be the future going forward in the tag division. Again, we don't know. It goes back to me saying, I feel like the whole tag division has been put on notice. I feel like all the teams have been walking on eggshells, either respectfully or because it could be me and Prodigy against Juice and Joe Pro, and we like Juice and Joe Pro. They're cool dudes, but if push comes to shove, I want to be tag team champions as much as they do.
It's all business. That's all
Right,
it is. It's all business.
right. We'll beat the crap out of each other, and then I'll buy them beers out at Wings and Rings. That's just how
There
it
you
is.
go.
And I hate to say that, because on one hand, I don't want to punch Juice and Joe Pros in the face, but I will. It's much easier to do that with like a Alex Hayden and Demise than than again a Natty Boys or Juice and Joe Pro. So yeah, it's very exciting in the tag team division right now. I'll end it on that.
Oh, absolutely. And there's only a couple more matches that we got to talk about. One of which I actually didn't know that the match had already been signed. I knew one opponent, I didn't know the other. That was Pompano Joe. He put it out there at the last Covington event. He said, "I've wrestled everybody in the NWF, and I need an opponent. So I'm throwing an open challenge out." And of course, I threw him a couple names, and we were talking before recording, and people just tagged all these people left and right on social media that Pompano Joe an open challenge. There's a lot of Joes in it with a lot of P names in there as well. Pompano Joe has put out this challenge, and we want, you need to accept it. So they're throwing out there like a Pillman Jr. and Moxley. They're from Cincinnati.
Right.
And I get that. I thought about throwing out Buff Bagwell just because he's been on the show before, and I still know how to contact him. But, but somebody,
You always got the anniversary. You always got the anniversary.
I always got the anniversary. That could always happen. But you said there was somebody who did step up. His name is Amos.
Amos. Yes.
So tell us about Amos.
Amos, the prophet of pain, the pop master himself. If you're not from Cincinnati, this may not mean a whole lot to you. But if you are from Cincinnati and are familiar with how the wrestling scene is around this area, you know how big of a deal this match is. Amos has never stepped foot inside an NWF ring before, but he's stepped in other rings around the other places, winning championships in other places in the surrounding areas before, but not in NWF. And for the first time, he gets to make his NWF debut on the grandest stage that we can offer to hundreds and hundreds of NWF fans, and they get to see what Amos can bring to the table. And who knows? We could see Amos beat Pompano Joe. Imagine what that would mean. Like, it's not every day you see Pompano Joe lose.
I was going to say, I could probably count the number of times with one hand and still have fingers left over the number of times I've actually seen him lose. Every time he's in a match, he wins. He finds a way to win.
Yeah, and it goes back to what he said. He has he's wrestled me. He's wrestled Nasty Russ. He's wrestled all kinds of people several times over, and he's beat them all.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go outside the NWF. But what Amos did, which I can see where he's coming from, but I would have done it a little differently. And he said it in his promo on Bust and Loose, which I'll go ahead and plug, by the way. Bust and Loose is our weekly recap show on Facebook every Sunday night at 8 p.m. You're welcome, Raj. And he said that he wasn't going to wait for his name to show up on a list. He was going to go out and take it by the throat. And he attacked Pompano Joe from behind and he made it a little bit more personal than what it should have been. So now we have an interesting situation, and we could have had this great classic mano-a-mano matchup between a quote unquote outsider versus this NWF, homegrown veteran, legend, future Hall of Famer, etc. And it's definitely gonna be one. I mentioned earlier that the respect match might have the potential to be match of the year, but I will keep my eyes on this one too.
Oh yeah, definitely a must see match, and especially because we get kind of a crosstown rivalry going.
Yeah.
And saying crosstown rivalry in Cincinnati actually does mean something, not just for Xavier and Cincinnati,
No.
the universities, but crosstown rivalry when it comes to wrestling, I mean, actually means a lot. And those go way, way back, because we've
Right.
actually talked about this before. But the main event, and I will always assume that the heavyweight title will always be the main event in any card, but cards have changed.
Right.
This is for the Northern Wrestling Federation heavyweight title. The champion, Hollywood Adam Swayze, is defending his title in a triple threat match against former champion Rex
Mhm.
and Star Rider.
Mhm.
And I've seen part of how this came about. Because Star Rider and Rex, I mean, they're kind of friends, but at the same time, Rex, every time he was trying to help Star Rider, he ended up costing him matches, inadvertently,
Right.
just from what I saw. And so Star Rider kind of got a little upset at that. And
Understandably. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, um, but so now they're all three of them are involved in the matches, and this is, man, I'll tell you what, I'm thinking about the possibilities that this match could go with, because I know all three of these guys are capable of just putting on some great matches, and you get together. Oh, I think it'll be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And a little caveat is, people are looking over is that Gideon Weinstein, Swayze's agent, is banned from the building.
That's what I was about to ask. Gideon Weinstein um, because he all of a sudden reappeared after being gone for a while,
Right, right. He came back
and
with the Rumble and helped Swayze win the title.
yep, and
And
with the kind of a not very nice, he hit Rex in a not very nice spot,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the best family
Yeah,
friendly
you're
way
right.
to put it.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
um, and and I think a lot of people are wanting to see Swayze just get beat just because, um,
It's Swayze. You don't have
it's
to say no
Swayze.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't take anything away from the man's talent, but man, sometimes just running at the mouth and at the mouth, and of course, him and Rex used to be partners. They were tag team champions,
Longest
and
reigning tag champs, right?
yep, longest reigning tag team champs. And last year at the Summer Sizzler, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that when Rex he beat
You beat Josh.
Josh? Thank you. I forgot who he beat for the title. Because I remember, I mean, the crowd just went nuts.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Swayze walks out, golden ticket,
Right.
demands Rex lay down for him. And Rex laid down, but then kicked out at 2 and put Swayze down, pinned him. And so that was the end of that team.
Right.
It's no more Hollywood Blondes.
Nope.
So we know about the animosity there. We know about Star Rider is really, really wanting that title. And Star Rider, I mean, he's, just a fantastic wrestler. So if anybody can win the title, it could be Star Rider.
Right.
And he feels like Swayze has the title, but Rex has kind of been standing in his way,
Right.
because he keeps, saying like he's trying to help him, but instead he's not. And so now it's going to be a great fight. That's about the only way you can put it.
Right.
And
Right. And people forget, like, Ryder's been feuding with Swayze ever since the tri-state title days.
oh
Like
yeah,
Ryder beat Swayze for the tri-state title, and then Swayze won it back, and then they got to the tag division, and then Ryder beat him for the tag titles, and then
yeah, they did. That's right, they did. It
Yeah.
was him and Lotus.
Yeah. So it's all, and then this year in Thunderdome, we thought, okay, it's another chapter, but it's with the heavyweight title. We almost saw Ryder, you know, get that again, but things happen, and there's just so much history with all three of these guys. And I just mentioned, like, some of it goes back 2-3 years. So it's there's so much emotional um there's just so much emotion invested, excuse me, in this match, that every NWF fan or any wrestling fan in general are gonna have their eyes glued to this match. There people say, well, what's your definition of a main event? And the answer is always subjective. What it's the
Right.
match that made the most money, it's the match that got the loudest reaction, it's the match that went on last, yada yada yada. I believe this main event is one of the best main events that NWF, Commissioner Cat, Roger Ruffin, whatever you want to take credit for. I think this is one of the best main events, not only in FanFest / Summer Sizzler history, but it's one of the best main events in NWF history, because you have all of those subjective answers that I mentioned before in this main event. You have the reason why all three of these guys are in this match. You have the fact that this is the match that a lot of people are buying their tickets to see. You have the fact that this has the potential to be match of the night / show stealer, etc. And the list goes on and on and on. And we mentioned all the matches beforehand, and those matches could even potentially be main events of
Mm-hmm.
Fairfields and Mount Orbs and Covingtons and even Bone Crushers and stuff. But it's such a stacked card from top to bottom. But the main event, the metaphor has always been the main event's always that cherry on top, and it's one big ass beautiful cherry. I'll say that. And yeah, it's all the I can assure you, all the wrestlers, regardless of feelings or animosities that every wrestler has with one of these men, have every single wrestler is going to be watching backstage. Every single fan is
Mm-hmm.
going to be watching. The building owner is going to be watching. Uh, it's gonna be it's gonna be a match people will never forget years to come.
And I think the NWF Army is going to be out full force,
Right.
and not just these 8 matches too, but there's also going to be 2 bonus matches for people who
VIPs.
paid the So I mean, and me just knowing the roster, I know the bonus matches are also going to be top notch.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't even have to know who's in them, and I know they're going to be great.
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of NWF wrestling now. I mean, that you see me at a lot of the events. So, um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I wouldn't keep going to them if it wasn't great. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I mean, that makes sense.
No, no, yeah. You're why would you waste your money on bad wrestling? No, I get
Right.
it.
Yeah. I mean, and you definitely go. I mean, and you already know it's going to be good, and then you put it on an event of this magnitude. This whole card is just going to be great, top to bottom.
Right.
And eh, you know, um, I'm looking forward to it. Everybody else who's listening, hopefully they should be also looking forward to it. It's just going to be a great time.
I say if they haven't bought their tickets, what are they doing?
Right. I mean, and in Covington hits, it's a huge place as far, I've just kind of compare that to like Ludlow. Ludlow is, it's very tight spaces. It's a fun
Right.
place, because of the energy level, but it's something about hits because it's such a wide open area. You can have a lot of people and you can walk around and you can kind of, there's a lot more access to things. But yeah, I know last year Summer Sizzler was great. This one it looks like it's also going to be great as well. May even top last year. I mean, that says something,
Right. Right.
so, but, uh, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Dwaylen, even though he couldn't be here, he did want me to ask you a question. I meant to ask it when we were talking about your match.
Oh,
Which do
it's
you
okay.
prefer? Which do you prefer, singles or tag matches?
Mm-mm. that so my first instinct is to tell you tag matches, mostly because you're not as tired because you have somebody because you're not yeah. But at the same time, tag matches, there's so many moving pieces. Like, not only do you have to worry about the guy in the ring, you also got to worry about the guy on the other side of the ring.
Right.
And here lately, I've been finding out I've been kind of finding my stride in tag matches. Um, kind of more outside information. Like, not only am I in a successful tag team, or I like to say successful, but Summer Sizzler hasn't happened yet. So but I like to think me and Prod make a good team, because, and I could list all kinds of things, but I think the overarching reason why we make such a good team is because I think we complement each other's weaknesses.
Okay.
And like he's Prodigy is just a freak athlete. He's such a natural, and he can do a lot more flips than I can. But but I like to talk a lot. I like to I like the mic time. Prodigy on the other hand, he likes to talk in the ring, and that's perfectly fine. So, and that's just one example. There's multitude of reasons, but back to I also find that I'm in a other successful tag team at another place, and that's been picking up steam. And then just lately, Roger sent me and another person to be a tag team for somebody else, because Roger's like, they need a tag team, and Prodigy's not available, but I'm sending you with somebody else. And I was kind of like, oh, I guess I'm the tag team guy now, which is cool, because Wildcat Criteris, who is one of my mentors and coaches and my commissioner, for God's sakes, people say he's a tag team guy, and very successful one at that. So, but on the same breath, I also appreciate singles matches too, because I it's a lot less to worry about. I don't have to worry about another dude on the apron. I can just worry about my opponent. Unless you're wrestling like somebody of MCE, then you have 20 guys outside the ring. But that's another story for another day. But overall, it's just you and another guy. But I guess now that my thoughts are kind of being more vocalized, I guess I would have to say tag matches. Because again, here recently, I find out I'm finding my success in tag matches. Whereas before, I was kind of, well, I'd say struggling, but I feel like I was such in a limbo, especially after the whole MCE debacle, which I'm still upset about. But again, we're not going to talk about that. And I felt like I was just kind of in a limbo, and then Prodigy and I started teaming up again, because that's another thing too. Like, we've always been teaming. It's just we've been teaming on and off, but we've always teamed. And then after the whole Sinclair thing, and then we found out he was kind of in limbo. So I went to Kat. I was like, why don't you just put me and him together? Because we team well and we complement each other on so many things. Like, he has a weakness of this, but that's my strength, and vice versa. So why don't you just put us together? And it took a while, but eventually he gave us a shot, and that shot got us a tag team title opportunity. So in that regard, I'm very fortunate that he even would consider putting us together. But yeah, but thank you, Joylan, for your question, and I hope you feel better, bud.
Oh yeah, Joyland's definitely missed on the show, because because you've listened to our show,
Right.
even when we're not interviewing people. I mean, and it's always a good time, because his knowledge of wrestling is just amazing. I mean, he is like a walking wrestling encyclopedia.
He got to go to SummerSlam, that dirty dog.
He did, and I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures he took. I mean, because because we reviewed it. Of course, it's weird because he reviewed it being a fan that was there watching, so he didn't even hear the commentary, and I'm watched it right before we reviewed it just because I was traveling over the past couple of weeks, and so I actually didn't get it. I didn't get to watch it until we got back. I had to watch it like in the hours right before we recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, so we watched the same show, but we watched different shows, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
and that's always been so interesting to me. Like, like sports in general, like going to a football game is so different than watching one on TV.
Yeah. Baseball, same way. Now granted, baseball is one of the ones I'd rather be there watching it live.
Right.
I love watching baseball live. And actually wrestling, I mean, I can do either one. To
me, it depends on the promotion.
Exactly. Well, WWE apparently their stuff is starting to get better. I'm not going to say the reason why their stuff is starting to get better, but there's reasons why their stuff is all of a sudden starting to get better.
So I wonder what you mean.
Yeah, so but yeah, they're we'll cover some of those subjects on other episodes. We've been kind of covering a little bit, but it's just like one thing after another after another after another. It's definitely keeping us in business. I mean, I'll say it like that.
It gives us something to talk about.
It definitely I mean, we're never at a shortage, because every once in a while we go, man, I can't think of anything, because then all of a sudden, bam, 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 bam. It's like, what do you mean the Wall Street Journal were the ones who broke this story? I mean, that to me is like, okay, that's saying something, because they go wrestling. Ew. I'm like, yeah, what?
Yeah.
But if anybody would like to, send your thoughts out to Dwaylen, trying to get better, you can always find him on his Twitter at @fat_daddy73. That's his Twitter. You can also email the show at armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast, Instagram at armchairbooking, TikTok at armchairbookingpodcast, Twitter at bookingarmchair. You can find us on YouTube. You know that already if you're watching it and you see Noah there over there laughing, trying to pee himself because he's laughing so hard.
Because it was the gas. After you just kept going, and you're like, like I don't know how much Japanese wrestling you watch, but it reminded me of the Kenta Kobashi spot where he's just chopping people, and then he stops, catches his breath, and then just keeps going. That's what it reminded me of.
But you can find us on just about any audio platform you can think of. I mean, if we're not there, let one of us know, and I will do what we can to get ourselves added. You can find our merch. Yeah, we have merch. You know about our merch because you wore my shirt. You know about our merch.
I did.
Yeah, that was so. I'm still thinking about that. I was like, he's wearing my shirt. Yes. And
of course.
Yeah, tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. You can also find Dwaylen's other social media accounts at Big and Fat. That's both on YouTube and TikTok. That's where he and his family, they kind of have their own non-wrestling social media thing. And I also, I'm pretty sure you knew this, I also have another podcast I do that's not wrestling related.
One?
Yep. At the Cubicle Chat. So that Twitter is at cubicle_chat. That is a way for me to talk about other things besides wrestling, because just like you, I know you have a lot of other stuff that you do besides wrestling. So it's me to kind of.
At this point, it feels like that's all I do.
Well, right now, I mean,
yeah.
So, because I mean, I can talk about a myriad of things, and so I get at work right now. Some people know me. That's the wrestling podcast guy, and I'm like, yeah, but so, I mean, and obviously I love it. That is the first priority. Obviously, is armchair booking. Because that's when I started, but I'm also working on building this other as well. And I'm helping somebody else start their own podcast, also not a wrestling one, but,
awesome.
But speaking of social media, Mr. Gabriel, how do people find you on all the socials?
All right. I'm going to try to do this in one breath and try not to take it. Come on.
All right. Don't get blown up there, Ultimate Warrior. Come on.
Distrucity. All right, you can like Noah Gabriel on Facebook at Noah Gabriel. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter, it's at _Noah Gabriel. On Instagram, it's at official Noah Gabriel. I'm sorry, they're two different things, but official Noah Gabriel is too much for Twitter, apparently. And then you can follow the Northern Wrestling Federation, like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter at NWF Wrestling, follow them on Instagram at NWF_Wrestling. Also follow the Future Stars division, which is our developmental division for the NWF. Like the Facebook group, Northern Wrestling Federation Future Stars Army. Also follow them on Instagram and Twitter, both at Future Stars NWF.
Did you get it all in one breath?
That's it. It was like, I think I snuck a small one, but like it wasn't a big kiboshi. Yeah.
That was also me, being a smoker for the better part of 29 years too.
Listen,
right now it's just me being okay. I'll be 49 at the end of this month. So right now I'm like, okay, I'm going. I was like, okay, I'm done. So
man, I'll be 23 in a couple weeks. So
dude, you were so young. You were born right at not just a few months after my wife and I got married.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we hit 23 years this past May.
So I'll throw him under the bus. I don't care. So AJ, who's one of the announcers, which I don't remember if we mentioned, but he's also the special guest referee for the James Cross and Savannah and Lotus and Riley tag match, because
really,
yeah, he's a special guest referee. Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, special guest referee, because him and Cross have been getting in each other's face lately because AJ likes to run his mouth like me. That's why we're friends.
But anyway, AJ has the good hair though.
Yeah, he does. Anyway. Oh yeah, so he's younger than me, and he likes, for some reason he thinks that's like a big flex. I don't know why, but he's like, yeah, man, when I was born, WCW and ECW were just bought out 1 month ago, and it's like, dude, like, no one cares. Like,
wow.
Okay, maybe you do just a little bit, because like,
wow. Yeah, I mean, not okay, but then again, my favorite wrestler back in the day. In fact, I have his action figure right here. This was my favorite wrestler back in the day. Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
He's a former NWF champion. I don't know if you knew that.
The NWF he was in was the NWF that was actually not in Cincinnati. It was actually located.
It was like Roger put our heavyweight championship on him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did know that. That's right. Right. Because I watched before I interviewed Roger, I watched I'm Still the Man, the documentary. Yeah, that's right. I did see that, and I was like marking out because Boogie Woogie was my favorite wrestler back in the day. He just turned 80 a few days ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I guess he's actually still out there wrestling, but that's how far I go back. I mean, was Boogie Woogie?
If Bushwhacker Luke can still wrestle, man, still do.
Yeah.
Well, Bushwhacker, but I would say, because they're about the same age, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I mean, there's some other conversations that we need to bring you on to let a young man talking old school wrestling. And by the way, my daughter, you're talking about young and wrestling. My daughter is the exact age of the WWE. She was born the day that
oh wow.
Yeah, she was actually born that day. That it actually became WWE. So she's never known a world with the WWF.
Oh, neither have I. But
well, yeah,
I still, I don't know what it's like to experience, flipping back between Raw and Nitro, or maybe adjusting your antenna to maybe get ECW. Like I never like it, I get a lot of that like old school like stuff because little personal life. Like I would, during the summers, I go over to my grandma's. My grandma would still had a lot of that technology, and still, I don't want to say lived, but still has some of those practices. So like I still know how to rewind a VCR. I still know, like, all these things that 23-year-olds then it was like 9, 10, 11-year-olds didn't know. But and I probably will never need to know that, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, it's kind of cool that I know that.
Records have come back. We've kind of gone full circle. Cassettes, they will regular music cassettes and VHS cassettes, they'll all make their way back in there too. But in the meantime, we do need to go ahead and wrap this up. So do you have any last words for anybody?
Hopefully by the time I come on, I'll be tag team champ, man.
There you go. And if you get them belts, let me know, and we'll have you. And we need to get you and Prodigy back on as well. As tag team champs. I have not.
Has Prodigy ever been on?
No.
Well,
his other half has been on, but he hasn't.
Well, his other half's a little psycho.
A little bit, yeah.
But no,
yeah.
like I said, he doesn't talk a whole lot. He does a lot of talking in the ring.
I kind of gathered that. Yeah, he doesn't really talk a lot. There was a few others that I've had on. Of course, I mean, your buddy. The last time we had you on actually was a duel thing. You and your buddy. He's been on one of the times.
People say I'm bad. That he never shuts up.
But anyway, so go out, check out the Summer Sizzler, August 20th. Hits down in Covington. Go see Noah and Prodigy, Andrew Reed, Joshua for the NWF Tag Team titles, 2 referees. It'll be a great match, and there's going to be just a great time. So go out, check it out. Thank you, Noah, for coming on. Certainly appreciate you taking your time to come out and come on, because I know you're also sore because you had training tonight. So
it's fine. Swinger only beat me up a little bit tonight.
Oh, there he goes. He had Swinger kick him in the butt a couple times. Yeah, because that's what Swinger does. You ever seen a Swinger match? I don't even know the name of that move, but somehow he gets their hands tied up there, and and then he just he's lining up for the punt, and bam, and just kicks him right in the butt.
There's a line that I use on commentary when he does that. It's "There's only one way out of this Gordian knot," and then
the Gordian knot. There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go check it out. Be a good time. But thank you once again, Noah, for coming on. We're going to have you on again, man. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, now God bless.